Hey guys, it's me, Julia. In this video, I'll be going over practice test 3, calculator section question 27. So let's get started. A rectangle was altered by increasing its length by 10% and decreasing its width by p%. If these alterations decrease the area of the rectangle by 12%, what is the value of p? So this is a, let's see. Percentage and proportion type of question. So the very first thing you need to know is how to calculate the area of a rectangle. And that would be length times width, which will be, let's say, A for area. Okay, so that is our equation for calculating the rectangle's area. And we're just expressing it in variables. Okay, now we want to know what the alterations is. We need to write it down. So let's go step by step. So the length is increased by 10%. You don't want the 10% of the length. You want the original length plus the 10%, which means a 10% out of 100 is 10% out of 100 is 0.1, right? But we're not just looking for that 10%, we're looking for the original value plus the 10% of that original value, which means we need to add 1, and that will be 1.1. So when we want to calculate the extra 10%, well, let's just move this over here. We would write it like this, 1.1 times L. So that is a 10% increase. Now we're going to move on to the width, and it says decreasing its width by p%. Now this time we're not given a number. We don't know if it's, we just know that it's p%. We don't know the percent itself. So whenever you face that kind of question, you need to do that +1 step, just like we did before. But in this case, it's looking for decreasing the width, which means you need to times the width, so the letter W, by 100% minus the p%. And let me show you what I'm talking about. So it's going to be 1 minus, okay? So for example, if you want to calculate a 20% discount of bag B, okay? If it's 20% discount, you're not going to do 0.2 because that's going to give you the 20% of bag B. And instead, you subtract the 20% from the 100%, which is the remaining, so 80%. And how do you write that in decimals? Well, you write 0.8, right? So by multiplying these two together, you automatically take into that account you automatically subtract the 20%. So we are going to do the same. So it's going to be 1 minus the percent, right? Just like this, right? Just as we wrote 10% out of 100. And since we're looking for the additional 10%, we added 1 because that accounts for the original. But we're looking for the original minus that p%. So that is what we have written here. And of course, this needs to be multiplied by W to get the value. And that everything is going to be, now this is one other key point, decrease the area of the rectangle by 12%. So we're going to do the same thing, 1 minus 12 over 100 for the area. And that is going to be 0.12. So 1 minus 0.12, feel free to use your calculator here. And that is going to be 0.88. And we cannot forget the A because it's 12% decreased from the original area, right? So these two equations that we have constructed, they need to be consistent. The top one, which is the original rectangle's area equation, and the bottom part, which is the new one, okay? All these letters or variables need to be consistent. They need to show the same thing. And let me show you why that's really important. Let me just, okay. So how would we exactly find the P, right? This looks really confusing, but what you want to do when you construct these, proportions basically is to get the original area equation to the side. So what I mean by this is what do they share in common? Well, the length, of course, the width, of course, and last but not least, the area. Now, if you just look at the letters I've highlighted, it's the same. It's just the ones not highlighted are the additional alterations that we have made. So what we want to do is, since everything is multiplication, we can move anything around. It's unlike, subtractions and additions, okay? So you can't move anything within the bracket, but everything other than the bracket you can move. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the whole thing to the side. So that is going to be 1.1 times 1 minus P over 100 equals LW. Times LW. See, I moved everything here. Okay, get the general idea. And 0.88 A. Now that we have our values on the side, it's going to be easy for us to understand the relationship between what's on the right and what's on the left. So LW, L times W, or length times width, is the area, and vice versa. A is length times width. So you can think of this L times W as A now, because LW is A. And keep the 0.88 A there. And if you move the whole thing down, you'll start to see something that you could potentially use to get to the answer. We want P, okay? From there, we know that this must equal to 0.88 because these two A's are the same, okay? So that's the main goal of proportions, is to get the original area equation to the side so that you can see what exactly you changed, okay? So when we calculate that, distribute 1.1 in the fraction, in the bracket, sorry, and that is going to be 0.88. And that is going to be 0.88 minus 1.1, which is negative 0.22, and negative 1.1 P equals negative 22, and P equals negative 22 over negative 1.1, which they're both negative numbers, so they cancel out. And that is going to be 20. And which one is 20? C. Sorry, that was kind of So that is going to be your answer.